The other question is, what does success mean, right? That's a big question. And to me, if you wake up and you feel well, happy about what you're doing in your life, then that's success. And that's how I define it. And I feel happy about what I'm doing.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are making things happen. My name is Michael T. Johnson. I'm here with my co-host, Tyler Kelly, and we are at Venture Cafe Miami. So Venture Cafe is the #1 largest gathering of innovators anywhere in the world. There's not a gathering like it anywhere. So we are very excited to be in Miami tonight. We are very excited to have Pilar Guzman Zavala with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Michael, Tyler.
Yes, this is going to be a good show. So for those of you outside of Miami, because I'm sure everybody in Miami knows about you and your business, Pilar is the president of Half Moon Empanadas, a fast casual concept that provides retail and catering services, offering over 20 flavors of Argentinian style empanadas. And they're amazing.
Yes, they are.
And they're branded, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, you see the name of each empanada.
Everywhere.
Yes. Very unique.
As you're biting into it, you're reading, you're getting branded.
That's how we innovated in the industry. Yes.
And because of that, 500,000 a year, you're up to that now, about 500,000?
We're, I think, over that
now.
That. Yes. Wow. We're about, I believe, with the new locations lately, up almost 600,000 a year empanadas we make.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you're not just like raking it all in, you're giving back.
Yes.
As a mentor for women entrepreneurs in Miami with WINlab Miami.
Yes.
And FIU Startup Food Lab, also a board member here for Venture Cafe Miami, and a current Miami fellow.
Yes, I do. Sometimes I think I do too much, but it's in my heart and I enjoy it. I think it's important to be part of the community where you live and to help others along the way. I think it's basic.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
I think just in learning a little bit about you, you have an amazing entrepreneurial story, which is very inspiring, meaning it wasn't all, rainbows at the beginning.
Yeah, it's a fun story now looking back. I always say if I had to live it again, I would do it. I would go through it again just because you learn so much. But yes, like today we are a 10 location company. We have 10 locations across Miami. And, 2 of them very successful stores in the Miami International Airport. We're in the University of Miami, FIU, the Miami Beach Convention Center. So, people might think that it's an overnight, right? But it's been 10 years. We're going to have 10 years in August. And I tell you, I always say this, it took me 7 years. It took my husband and I 7 years to get a paycheck month to month from the business. We almost went bankrupt. We made very bad decisions. The business model was completely off. We opened a big location, 2,000 square feet location in South Beach, thinking that we would do delivery and seating empanadas. And we soon realized that people would not see, in the US, they would not see the empanada as a delivery item. It's more like an impulse buy. And so as a survival mode, we started to do like offering catering and doing festivals. We did the Coconut Grove Festival, the art festival. And, that's when we realized this is where we need to be, right? So it took us 3 years to get out of South Beach. It was, again, we had a couple evictions. Like I always say, we had the second eviction was an eviction in the business and at home. So I've been in like $30 in the bank place, right? So that's why I think I'm very passionate about giving back. It's been always me like that, but I am passionate about helping women entrepreneurs, especially women, because I think I have some to share. And, if maybe somebody would have told me certain things, maybe my mistakes would have been a little bit, smaller, right? So it was very painful, very, very painful. But I think that's how you learn. I mean, that's how you actually become successful, which I don't consider myself yet successful. I will, when I'm in every airport in the US and internationally, then I'll say maybe I'm successful. So, but that's the overachieving in me.
5 to 7 years, and you held on that long. So tell me about where that drive came from.
I think that to be an entrepreneur, you have to have that sort of self-driven. Like you have to be competitive. You have to, try to overachieve and get things done. So I think it's a personality. So I am like that. I am somebody that do not quit. I don't quit. I don't like to give up. That helped me. So I think it was partially personality. And I always tell this to entrepreneurs. I saw a light. Like I saw a little light when the festivals gave me that hint, like, okay, you're not selling this in the store, but you do sell in the festival. So I'm like, something is off. Let me figure it out. And I was also, I think I'm very lucky, and that's the other reason why I feel a responsibility to give back, because I've had mentors and people along the way. Very few, many doors closed, but the ones that opened, gave me a hand. And so I think that's what I love what we do in Venture Cafe, because to me, it's a way to replicate my story. So the social capital, the networking, the being intentional about the meetings we do here so that people get to meet each other. I mean, my mentors opened the doors for me. If it wasn't for my mentor, one of my mentors, I could not have gotten financing for the airport, which was critical for me to jump as a company. So that's why I love what we do here in Venture Cafe as well. So, yeah.
So festivals to airports and community centers or, convention center, like,
so
where'd that aha come from? Like, tell me about that aha moment.
I told you the aha moment. Yes. So as we were surviving in South Beach, not being able to pay the rent, we had a line of credit that was paying for the rent. The crisis comes, the line of credit gets cut. There's no more money. You're trying to offer catering, doing festivals. And as I am visiting the University of Miami, offering the catering, the guy says, I have this little cart in one of the buildings of the school that we've had 4 vendors before us taking it. They all returned the cart to us because they didn't make money. And you want it, so I go see it, and I'm like, this is like a festival. So to me, that was my aha moment. My husband was like, what are you seeing? Like, this is just a cart in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, this is people going by, students wanting to buy something on the go. We're perfect. And then empanada with coffee goes like ideal. So we took it, and if they were doing $100 with like sandwiches and sodas, we did with the same cart in the same location, just different product, and us running it, $1,500 one day. So 15 times what they were doing. So that to me was a light. I'm like, okay, if this works, then where do I replicate that? And then we heard, we found out about the bid in the airport. The bid took us 3 years. So from the moment we submitted our RFP document to the moment we opened the doors, it was 3 years. And I'm super proud of that. I always say this, we are the #1 bestseller per square foot of the entire airport. So we beat concepts like Versailles, Starbucks, instant bagels. So that tells you a lot about, who we are, right? And so we were the best concession overall of the year in 2016. And we're a small business. Usually these are big concessionaries. We're the success story in the airport. So I'm very proud of that.
So obviously there's a ton of stuff we could learn from you today. But so take me back. I mean, everybody loves to talk about food. Mm-hmm. Empanadas. Where did the whole idea come from to begin with?
Well, that is 100% the credit of my husband. So my husband was born in Argentina, came to America when he was 8, who grew up in the DC area. And I think he was always like, he left something, like his family and his country. So for him, it was a little bit of an emotional sort of place to be, like bring a piece of my country to the US. And so he was working with the company of his family. He was an editor, nothing to do with culinary background. I was working for Knight Foundation here. And so he decides to move to Miami to open an empanada shop. He studied for 2 years. I remember seeing him eating books of pizza delivery, and he would show me like 1,000 uniforms of like what color, and I would be like, what is he doing? So he's this like really visionary guy that understood that would be at some point another item in the mainstream menu of the fast food in the U.S. I think he saw it, and he had the courage to actually, put everything he had. His retirement account, his apartment in Virginia, line of credit, let's do it. So the credit for the courage and starting all of this is all his. Then when he opened the first location in South Beach, he's like, I am about to fire everybody. Because I always tell him he's in the wrong business, because he doesn't like to like manage people. And I'm a people person. So he's like, you gotta come help me. And so at that moment, I was also like, I had worked with my foundation. I worked in the government in Mexico. I worked in the World Bank in DC. And I'm like, I think I already tried these places where I thought I was gonna make my difference. Let me try the business side. And today, after 10 years, I tell you, I am completely sure that entrepreneurship and being a business owner is the best place for me to make a difference. I'm creating jobs. I am raising people, not only in terms of salary and money. You also raise people's heart, I have a company where I'm proud to have 70% of women employed. We promote people from within. So I'm trying to build something more than just a company, a place where people feel, happy and they can grow with us. That's where I get so excited, to see people like, okay, you got promoted, now we're growing, and that is where I find my peace with this.
So I've had a lot of empanadas in Miami, and there's all different kinds. So tell me what makes an Argentinian.
So yes, so the empanadas, in the different Latin American countries, you have different kinds, right? From the way the dough is made. So for example, the Mexican empanadas are made with corn-based flour, and they're fried. And you usually just find like a couple flavors, like the cheese empanada and the beef empanada. The Venezuelans, I believe they're also fried, similar to the Mexican ones. The Argentinians are flour based. The dough is flour based, and it's funny because even in the country, depending on where you're from, they're done differently in terms of the fillings, right? The ones we do are more from like the Buenos Aires area. And we do the typical Argentinian empanadas, the beef, chicken, ham and cheese, spinach. The 3 cheese, you can say that's also very typical. But then my husband also understood that we needed to localize, Americanize, the flavors. So he came up with like the bacon, egg and cheese, which for an Argentinian, that's like, what are you doing eating a bacon, egg, cheese empanada with a coffee in the morning? Like, they don't understand. Or like, what are you eating an empanada with salsa, with chimichurri? Like, that's not an Argentinian thing. And we've done that. We have a pepperoni and cheese empanada. We do spicy flavors, which are not Argentinian. That's the only Mexican touch to the flavors. So yeah, that's how it is. And we make everything from scratch. So our dough is made in-house. Usually the empanadas you see everywhere. People buy the tapas, the dough, and they make the filling and they close it, right? Our process is from scratch, totally. Like, we make the dough, the fillings, nothing is frozen. So what you eat in the airport today or in the University of Miami was done yesterday, baked this morning. That's how we believe. The quality is very important for us.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You said you're not a success until a certain thing. So, but for you, like, what really is the vision? And maybe you have a vision for your company, but you also have talked about kind of all these impacts that you're making as well.
Yes.
So like, what is your vision personally for both?
So that's a good question. It's a big question. So my vision for Half Moon Empanadas, I dream to have a company that is a national name, that is in every airport of this country, and in many of the universities, stadiums, and places. So that's as far as Half Moon Empanadas. I started a couple new businesses. I started one specifically about empowering women, and it's called Alma Mia. It's not yet in the market, but it's in the works, and it's about empowering women through artisanal made jewelry. So I will be very happy if I'm able to also create this business where I also help, Latin American women, because this will be Latin American designers and Miami designers showcased in an airport location. So personally, my dream is to be the mom that my kids need. That's the number one dream and priority, to be there for them. And I just want to be able to grow my company, help the people along the way, and have, see a better Miami when I am older. What do I mean by a better Miami? Like I was kind of thinking about this, the challenges and the opportunities in the city. Like we're a city that we sometimes don't talk to each other. We don't work together. And so I would like to see us organizations like, the WINlab, Venture Cafe, the FIU Startup, all of these places to collaborate in projects, because I think that's the way you create systemic impact. So if I can be a little piece of that, I'll be happy.
Yeah. So you're talking about specifically a vision for women and for Latin women. Mm-hmm. What are kind of the challenges that that those groups of people are facing?
Yeah. So I think one of my biggest sort of I realized that. So I was at the Harvard Business School in a program called the Young American Leaders Program last year, and I was very shy. I wasn't sure. It's a group of it's 10 different cities that go to Harvard Business School. They study success cases of cities, and then you try to come up with projects or solutions. And as I'm seeing that, the best cases have been led by business people. And so there are a lot of non-for-profits, government people in the room, foundation people, some entrepreneurs. So I raise my hand, I give my opinion as to how I think I'm making my difference as a business owner in Miami. And then we finish that, and there's a lady from the Seattle group comes to me and she says, Pilar, do you realize that you are Hispanic? You're a minority, you're brown, you're an immigrant, and you're a kick-ass entrepreneur? And I don't know if it was that, and it was a stepping outside my bubble of the day-to-day that made me realize you know what, it's true. I have done a lot of work. I've killed myself for these last 10 years. I have a company, and I didn't realize it. I didn't see it. And so I'm thinking to myself, if I feel like that, how others feel, right? So I decided that I needed to get engaged with these groups of women. I decided that I want to speak up, and I want to share, I wanted to own my place, who I am and what I do, and share that with other women, because I think that we're missing that. We need to own who we are. We need to own the success, the fears, the opportunities that we bring as women in the workplace. And I say women entrepreneurs because that's where I can share more of my experience, right? Yeah. The being a mom and working and being an entrepreneur, it's one of the hardest things. Yeah. So that conversation about balance, I always say it's not true. That doesn't exist, right? So I try to share that. I just feel and I see that women want to hear that. They need to hear that because we feel sometimes lonely. Yeah. Yeah.
So along those lines, I mean, I understand that is a big problem among women, but I think it's a big problem among certain entrepreneurs as well, that they don't internalize their success and own it. Mm-hmm. I think you have this kind of pattern of people that feel like they're faking it, or they just for some reason can't internalize and own their success. So have you found ways, like you talked about, someone told you you're a kick-ass entrepreneur. How have you found that you can kind of internalize that and then? Yeah,
so when I look back, I didn't know when it was happening. I didn't know that was kind of one of the impacts. I talk about my mentors. They helped me with very specific things, right? They opened doors for me. But looking back, they were the ones who told me, yeah, I believe in you, and I'm gonna open the door for you because I believe in you. And so I think that having that voice and that person telling you, you know what, you're doing it right, and I believe you're a hustler, and I believe in your company, in your project, and in your capacity. When you have, as an entrepreneur, you have 1,000 doors closed on you. There is so much uncertainty. There is so much, you're lonely. It's a very lonely place to be. And so having those, I call them, in Spanish, hilos, like I call them like your support system of people. You have to have that. You have to find ways to when you feel stressed, to let it out. Like I talk to some women entrepreneurs and I sit down and I'm like, I think that's important. But it was other people telling me, and then I think I finally owned my place. I realized that, I've sacrificed a lot. I did everything. Like I can tell you 1,000 stories of things that I did. There was one time that nobody at the Fontainebleau, I was trying to sell the empanadas as a catering. They would not pick up the phone. Like it's really hard to get to a chef. So I got tired of it. I took my bag of empanadas in a pizza bag, put them there, drove to the Fontainebleau in the back where the food trucks come. And I said, where is the chef's office? And it's like, I didn't know the hotels, right? This is like a humongous place where you have to go around. And I'm like, I'm asking everybody where. I get to the chefs, and the guy is like a tall German guy. And I remember, he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, give me just 1 second. So I opened the box of empanadas, and I'm like, please just try them. I've been trying to reach you. It's so hard. So I've done, and we got them, as customers. So as an entrepreneur, you try everything, and sometimes you do feel lonely. And I think finally I decided to just own it and understand that I've done my work, and I don't, like I told you, I don't feel that I'm there yet. I'm always going to continue to improve and to grow the business, but in a different place, in the place where I'm like, okay, but I know where I am. I've done my work. The experience that I've had, I'm going to use it. And I think that's one of the things that I share with the entrepreneurs that I mentor,
Let's shift gears a little bit and just talk about Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Just the innovation that's happening
mm-hmm.
right now and what we see developing
mm-hmm.
and how that is an opportunity, how it is affecting the community and how you're involved with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, so I give a lot of credit to what Knight Foundation has done. Again, I worked with Knight 10 years ago. I was more on the national programs, funding side. I wasn't in Miami, but it was a very different program back then. And I think about 4 or 5 years ago, Alberto, the head of Knight Foundation, with the program director, decided that one of the focus was going to be entrepreneurship and innovation. And I think, to me, I'm biased, right? I'm an entrepreneur, but I think that investing in that in a community is where you truly make systemic impact, right? And so they have brought amazing organizations to Miami, like Babson, WINlab, Venture Cafe, hopefully we will be supported by Knight as well. The FIU Food Lab is funded by Citi. So all of these people understanding that that's a priority. I mean, we are the #1 city in the country in terms of startups, right? Our challenge is that we're in the bottom place in terms of scaling. So I think they saw that. So I give them a lot of credit for that. And I do see a change. I do see these organizations working, and that's, the incubators, and that's where you need the help. Like you need as an entrepreneur to know, how do you get access to decision makers? How do you get access to financing? How do you, if I need to grow my company, do I hire this position or this? Like very basic things. And so incubators like this, I think they're amazing. The Miami-Dade College Idea Center. So I see hope. I think we still have a way to go. Like I do believe that, we have a talent issue. Like we need to get more talent living here. But I think that's happening, which it wasn't happening before.
What do you feel like you've learned from your journey that you can share to help solve some of those problems you were just talking about?
What have I learned? This is like big picture, my philosophy of life. But it's like you have to dream high and work harder. Like I always tell entrepreneurs, if funding or capital wasn't an issue, if the money wasn't an issue, what's your vision? Take away the money. Where do you want to be? So I think that's a mentality that I have, and that's how we should, if we want to make things greater, that's how you should think. And then you got to work hard every day. Like you gotta pay your dues and work hard. I believe that having the right people in your team, it's what makes the biggest difference. I've learned that, metrics are important as a business, numbers are important, but you would not get to the numbers if you don't have the right people. So I always share this with entrepreneurs as well. You want to have the right people in your team, the people that you identify that have the same values that you do, that are overachievers like you in many of the positions. And you got to stay focused too, right? Which I'm still learning. I sometimes wonder, like, how do I do all of this? Because I'm also a mom. But, understanding where you want to go and having priorities and having goals, I think that's one of the things in terms of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you started 2 more businesses, but you only mentioned 1.
Yeah, the other one is also, it's I love it. It's called 305 Made. And it's my hope to get more opportunities to smaller businesses, smaller entrepreneurs, to get access to locations like the airport, Miami Beach Convention Center. And I know that it's hard as a small business because of the requirements, the insurances, the cost. So I say, well, why don't I use my locations and have like a little kiosk where I'm showcasing products made by Miami entrepreneurs. And so I proposed that to the airport, so I'm waiting to hear. And I want to do it in the Miami Beach Convention Center as a way to give them a platform to sell their products, but also the exposure, right? Like for a small, tiny business that make cookies in the Miami International Airport, where you have 40 million passengers a year. I mean, I think so that is my little piece of like how I want to help, also the entrepreneurs. Yeah.
No, so that's awesome. Tell me about the outlook. Like what's coming up for Miami, like in your opinion, in your vision, in what you see on the ground day to day? Like where are we headed? I
think we're headed to be, because today we're headed to be one of the top places where investors, like tech investors, come to. We're not there yet, but I think based on the conversations I've had, I was just in Israel with a group of entrepreneurs looking at their ecosystem in technology, and they're starting to have Miami in the conversation. Amazon is looking at, right? So I think that's where we want to be. We want to be in the map of those decisions where we can bring companies, where we can bring talent to stay, get jobs to people, and improve the inequality that we have so badly. So I think we're in the right path, and I'm hopeful that I will help also, create that.
And as that happens, like how do we as a system, as a community, ensure that nobody's left behind?
That's the biggest question. I think that efforts like we do here in Venture Cafe, it's a concrete example, right? Like this is about anybody can come to Venture Cafe, anybody can sit down with President Frank from for to have a conversation. And so I think that giving access to the information, I always talk about this with the big organizations, giving access to the information of like what contracts are there available for minority businesses. Like that's where we will make a big difference. There is a number about like how much money goes out in terms of purchasing, procurement from hospitals and the big anchor institutions that we need to get to Miami, right? And so if we're able to, with efforts like Venture Cafe and the incubators to help that and connect the pieces, I think that we will be able to have a greater impact.
Yeah. So as you're talking, I have this thought of like this quote that I really like. So you're talking about that big success moment, but there's this quote that I really love. It says that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. I probably butchered the quote.
No, I think that was right.
The success is the
progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So
you have to be idealistic.
Yeah, but we hear your story, we see the impact that you're making, and I really feel like you embody that. So
Thank you.
I really feel like you're a success, even though you're not. We all have that vision.
Thank you. I feel happy, and I think that's if you. The other question is, what does success mean, right?
Yeah.
That's a big question. And to me, it's feeling, I always respond like this. If you wake up and you feel well, happy about what you're doing in your life, then that's success.
Yeah.
And that's how I define it.
Yeah.
And I feel happy about what I'm doing.
That's great.
This has been an amazing conversation. Tell
thank
people
you.
how they can
Reach me.
get in touch with
Yes.
you, with the brand,
So-
all that good stuff.
Yes. So you can follow me in Instagram, Guzman_Pilar. And I have a Twitter account, Pilar Guzman. And the company, it's also, follow us. I would love for everybody to try our empanadas. Hopefully we'll be in other airports very soon outside Florida. It's Half Moon Empanadas and Pie by Half Moon, which is another concept that we don't have time to talk, but we opened that a couple months ago.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Pilar,
Thank you
for being on the show.
Thank you
This
for
is
doing
amazing.
this. We appreciate that.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in Miami, visit us on Thursday nights. Details are at venturecafemiami.org. And be sure to connect with us on social at We Are Slam and at Venture Cafe MIA. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins. So say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win. We come to fly. This is where we make our